Yo, what is up, it's your boy JadeJonny back here in the Elestral Emporium. Probably for the last time. Uh, I say probably because I don't think that it would be hard to convince me not to leave, if I'm being honest with you, because this game means a lot to me, and the people mean a lot to me. God, I wanted to do a commentary video. That's what I wanted to do for my last video, and I'm trying not to cry, because it it's it is a very emotional thing for me to do, right? It's and honestly, I'm probably acting irrationally, emotionally. I'm probably doing everything wrong by making this video. This isn't a video about how I'm mad at Dan. This isn't a video about how, I think the Elestrals team messed something up. This isn't one of those videos. This is a video where I'm I'm going to be extremely emotionally vulnerable in this video. Okay? I'm going to open up and I'm going to say things that I haven't kept secret, but I haven't talked massively about on a platform where everybody would see. And it's upsetting. Okay, so to start off, the title of the video, kind of clickbait, kind of not. Coder is the reason I am leaving Elestrals. Is it because of Coder? No, it's not. I mean, I've talked about it publicly before. I've said I would give it a couple more tournaments, and I gave it a couple more, and it didn't work. And so yeah, but I kind of. Sorry, I'm choking up. It's emotional. Okay, so give me a second. So I love Elestrals. Like I don't think anybody could claim I don't. Whenever the Elestrals lore drops, I'll probably end up reading it, even if I'm not playing the game. Whenever the Elestrals video game drops, I'm definitely gonna play it. But I can't continue to compete anymore. Now, I love competing. Competing is actually one of my favorite things to do, and it's what I love most about card games. And there's a reason I'm over in the square, because I am going to get into the commentary over the match with DistantCoder for the top 4 match. I am going to get into the commentary on that, and I'm going to go over what happened and why it's frustrating me so much, okay? Whenever the Elestriad was going on, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, and I know they're Yu-Gi-Oh players because they were rooting for Coder, would DM me telling me that I was never going to be good enough to beat Coder. I was never going to, be able to play against Coder. And in the Elestriad, I was asked to not be me. I was asked to not talk trash back, to never act any way that could, dissuade new players from playing the game. So I would delete the messages and I'd move on. And they would keep coming. They would keep coming, and they would keep coming. It actually didn't stop until the week the Elestriad ended. And it would go and constantly go. And so while I'm having to be, everybody knows me. I talk trash. I love talking trash. The most important thing in a competitive scene is the ability to talk trash, because it's how rivalries are built. I mean, a lot of people will tell you, if you ask anybody in the Elestral scene, what is a rivalry in the Elestral scene, the main rivalry anybody will be able to tell you is DistantCoder and me, and that's because we do have a relationship where we trash talk, right? That is a relationship we've built up over time. But so I had to ignore all the comments, all the messages, I had to ignore all of this about how I would never be good enough to beat Coder and I should stop trying. And every time I read a new message, I started to believe it. I started to believe that, they're right. Coder beat me in the first round of the Elestriad. Then he knocked me out of a tournament in an actual tournament, and then he beat me in Top Cut in the Elestriad. They're right, and it built up more and more and more and more. And it got to the point where I definitely started believing they were right, and I started telling myself, I'm just not going to be good enough to beat Coder. I'm just not going to be good enough to beat Coder. Well, so fast forward to this last week. I'm going over all the VODs, trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And the main things I see that I'm doing wrong, I'm firing off earthquakes too early. I ended up needing them later. And I'm going 3 enchant on Zeus, 3 enchant on Demeter, or 3 enchant on or 5 enchant on Aeolus. I'm using too many resources, and that's the only thing I can think of. So I ask everybody else, like I ask Jack, Jai, Cameron, I ask other top players, hey, what am I doing wrong that you guys see? And a lot of them just said I was getting unlucky. And I have a very bad track record of being unlucky when it comes to card games. In my first ever Vanguard City Championships, round 1, I got grade locked. And my opponent was just sitting there like, how are you doing this? How are you grade locked? This was before the Mulligan rule. And I got grade locked. And then my second City Championships... I'm sorry. I'm choking. But my second City Championships, I got to the finals, and then I got grade locked. And again, this was before the Mulligan rule. So, I'm sitting here, and I'm like, or this is before the G rule. This is before you reveal reveal G units, right? And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, this is stupid, right? I have a very bad track record of competitive gaming when it comes to tournaments. My first ever Pokemon regionals, I got double Rock Slide Flinch turn 1, and it kind of steamrolled from there. Then my second loss, I got both my Pokemon froze, and they didn't unfreeze the entire game. Then they got a crit on my third Pokemon, knocked it out, and I was like, okay, well, I'm down to just 1 Pokemon against 4 and Parasong. So I have a very bad track record when it comes to being unlucky in tournaments, so I kind of just figured if that's the only thing, maybe I can play around that. Hopefully I remember to throw... Actually, I'm going to throw up that image. I'm not going to throw up. I'm going to throw up that image on screen right now of my deck list. I said, okay, if what's happening is I'm getting unlucky, let's remove the luck factor. I want every card in my deck to do something whenever I draw it. So this was the deck list I decided to play. And then I messaged Coder, and I asked him, I was like, hey, what am I doing wrong? And he's the only person to have said the thing that I thought was, I'm using 2 spirits too aggressively, I'm popping off earthquakes prematurely, and I said, okay, I can work on that. I can fix that. That's easy. That's simply, I don't need to earthquake Ashtrap anymore. That's simply, I don't need to 3 enchant Demeter every time. That's it's a simple thing to fix. That's so easy to fix. And I did. And I'm gonna upload the tournament. I'm gonna upload the tournament run. It's not gonna have any exceptional editing. It'll have me cutting out the stuff before the games. It'll have me cutting out the stuff inside decking, and I'll upload it. Yeah, okay. And you guys can see I did that. I held the earthquakes. I held the laurels. In this match that I'm about to commentate over, where I played against Coder, I held the laurels and I held the earthquake until I knew I could out. Until I knew it could out his board. I did everything I could that everybody could notice that I was doing wrong. And it didn't matter. And do you want to know why? Because I ended up getting unlucky. Or more accurately, my opponent ended up getting extremely lucky. And we'll get into that in a second. But it just kind of I'm tired of taking off an entire day, right? I've actually had trouble, with jobs because I make time for Elestrals. Back when Elestrals first started, I actually got into a lot of trouble because I was running late, took my shift 5-10 minutes. I mean, it didn't matter because I was the one in charge, but it still annoyed my employees, right? And it's 5-10 minutes, whatever. Even them, I would let them get away with 5-10 minutes. I got let some of them get away with hours, right? So my point being, it's a major investment on time, on effort, on things like that for me to set it aside, right? And my track record shows I can consistently top cut. But if you go and look at all my games, like in Top Cut, you will see me losing in the unluckiest ways possible. There are sometimes I can play around the luck, and you can see like okay, back when I played the Bears deck, I played against luck, and I basically beat him single handedly with Earner Scout, right? And so it's situations like that where it's like there are situations where I can play around it, but not all the time. And not all the time is when I play against players who are that higher caliber, like Coder, like Bean Soldier. Though I did beat Bean Soldier in Swiss, but I didn't hit record because I'm stupid. And so, I don't. It sounds like I'm bitching to bitch, right? It really sounds like I'm bitching to bitch. But I needed to prove to myself that I could do it, and I didn't, okay? I did not prove to myself that I could do it. I kind of did the opposite, to be honest with you. I proved that I could not do it. And so I'm going to get into the commentary on the match, and a lot of the choices I make are probably things where people are going to go WTF, but it will make sense once you have full context for my mindset. And I definitely think that if you were to ask Coder how the matches played, he would tell you I played them flawlessly. Just for what I had, yeah, I played them flawlessly. Let's get into that. Sorry, I'm trying to stay distracted so I don't start crying again because I've already cried enough today. I basically proved every Yu-Gi-Oh player right who said I would never be able to equate to Coder. So I'm having a very emotional day today. So, and I love commentating, so this is kind of like, yeah. So, to start off, I actually end up keeping an opening hand that has double Viscaris and 2 other Elestrals, and I believe Ambrosia's my 5th card? I want to say it was Ambrosia. And my thought process is, whenever you're playing in the mirror match, every card matters. In every specific circumstance, right? So my thought process is I'm going to need to keep all my spirits because if this game is like, even somewhat close, I can't afford to mulligan. On top of that, the majority of my deck now is runes, right? Like, I mean, again, let me pop this up here, right? I mean, like, I draw 4 in my opening hand. I have 16 Elestrals. I have 16 Elestrals. I draw 4 in my opening hand. 1/4 of my Elestrals are in my hand. Odds of me drawing runes at this point, extremely high. Extremely insanely high. And so, my thought process is, get some pressure on the board, start applying pressure. He's only going to have like 2 back row. Then he sets 3. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, 3 and 2 are 2 different numbers. Those are 2 very drastically different numbers. And I know I can't, realistically deal with 3. And so, I cast Visk and I'm like, okay, apply some pressure. I don't want to, and I drew my 3rd Visk, by the way. I drew my 3rd Visk, on my draw. So I'm sitting here with all 3 Visk in my hand, okay? And I'm honestly wanting Visk to run over something just so I can special cast the 1 from my hand so he knows they're all in my hand. But he ends up activating Tsunami, and as Visk goes to defense position, obviously I set no back row because my only card in hand, I believe, was Ambrosia still. So, my thought process is, okay, I have 5 of my 16 Elestrals in my hand. The reason I didn't mulligan is because the risk that comes versus the reward, right? Against Earth, you want more Elestrals than you want runes, because Equal Links will always be able to remove those runes. You set 4 runes, you activate 1 in response to Equal Links pops in another, you're down to 2 runes. Okay, you lose a massive card advantage here. So, I draw the Nectar of the Gods, and I'm like, okay, this will get me cards. And what it gets me is an Ambrosia, and I believe a Tectoros. And so, I'm sitting here, and I'm like, how? What are the odds of this happening? I have drawn 6 of my 16 Elestrals. What are the odds of this happening? And so, I cast Tectoros, and I'm like, okay, this is good. This is great. I can run over the Rummagem, force him to run over the Tectoros unless he has a Demeter, and then I'm forcing out the Demeter, so I have more public information. Then I'm not playing so much with guesses. And if his face down's a Demeter, that's worse for me, because I know his face downs right now are not a Shield of Achilles, an Altar, or a Tsunami, because he would have just Tsunami the Tectoros and not had to play the Demeter. And so my thought process is, I'm good unless he has the Demeter. And if he does have the Demeter, that's one less card in hand that I need to think about. And he goes ahead and he casts the Equal Links. And then he casts the Demeter. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, it sucks. I'm going to take 2 damage from the Equal Links. Tectoros is going to be able to run over my Tectoros. So I'm down to Tectoros. But at the same time, I know his back row are probably like Tsunami and Shield, is my thought process. Either that or Tsunami and a Bluff. And then he sets another back row, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? You're the opposite of me, bro. Oh my god. So, I draw, and I might have actually drawn Laurels and Tectoros off of the Nectar of the Gods, because I believe I activate Earthquake and Laurels here. I know I didn't get Earthquake. I know I did not draw Earthquake off of the Tectoros. Yeah, I activate Laurels and I pop the Tectoros, and then I activate Earthquake, popping the Equal Links. This gives me full board pressure. There is nothing on his board. No cards in hand. Okay? My thought process is I get to cast Rummagem here, punch him for 1, and also search out Elestral, lowering that Elestral count even further. Well, he doesn't let me do that. He has the answer. He has the Gorgon's Gaze. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, okay, so not only... Wait, does he not Gorgon's Gaze this one? Okay, he doesn't Gorgon's Gaze this one. Okay, so I do thin out my deck, and I do get a new Elestral, okay? And so my thought process is here, I'm fine. I can start punching him now. I actually have no back row still, and so I'm like, any Elestral he draws can run over Rummagem. Even a Astrabbit can disenchant from Demeter and run over Rummagem. So I'm honestly going to get in the pressure where I can, and I'm going to just force something out. Okay, so he tells me to cut half. I cut half, whatever, right? And so my thought process is get the aggression in while he has nothing. He has no cards in hand. Keep in mind, no cards in hand at this point. And so I need him to draw a rune. Unfortunately, he's been doing the opposite of what I've been doing. He's been drawing nothing but runes, so the odds of him drawing an Elestral are extremely high. Unfortunately, the odds of me drawing an Elestral are extremely high. For some reason, I have 7 Elestrals out of 16. Accounted for. He draws a Visk, literally the worst card he could draw for me. He draws a Visk. He has a Build-A-Board on a body. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, this is absolutely stupid. What do I do? And so I'm like, okay, I'll play the Visk, and I'll run over his Visk. I Laurels his attack position Visk. I'm like, okay, I actually drew the Laurels at the top. I drew the Laurels at the top because I'm nice with it. And so I cast the Visk, and I'm like, okay, I will declare an attack on the Visk. On attack declaration, he will activate Gorgon's Gaze. This will allow his Visk to attack over my Visk. Is it the next turn he activates? I think it's the next turn he activates Gorgon's Gaze on attack deck. But he activates Shield here, bouncing my Visk. I might be thinking about game 2. So he activates Shield of Achilles and bounces my Visk. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's one less back row I have to worry about. It's fine. Then he draws the rabbit so he can look at the top 3. I think he grabs a back row. If I recall correctly, I believe he grabs a back row because the next turn he plays an Astrabbit. And I believe he got the Astrabbit off the top. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, bro, I genuinely, I'm not even doing anything wrong. I'm doing everything right for the hand I have. I outed his board. I know his back rows, or I have like an idea of what his back rows are. I know that the back rows are probably like, you know, I'm assuming the other one's a Gorgon's Gaze at this point or a Bluff, right? And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, so you grabbed a rabbit off the rabbit, okay. But I'm assuming the other ones are like a Gorgon's Gaze or a Bluff right now, right? And so I'm saying, okay, I can attack over this rabbit with Tectoros because Tectoros can run over the rabbit. If I play Visk, I'm sitting here and I'm just like, bro, I have 2 options. I have 2 Visk. I have 2 Visks in my hand, and I have a Tectoros, and I have 2 Tectoros in my hand. So I cast the Tect, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to attack the rabbit. Because the rabbit is the only card I can safely attack here. Because if he has that Gorgon's Gaze, which I'm 90% sure at this point that he has another one set in the back row, right? I'm like, okay, I guarantee attack over the rabbit, or I force out the Gorgon's Gaze, where he has to protect it, right? One of the two. And I know he wants to keep the rabbit because he has so few Elestrals, he's going to want to try to thin out as much as possible. So, I go Tech into rabbit, and this is a 6 attack Tech, which will run over the rabbit, and I'll force out a Demeter disenchant on the Vis to allow him to attack over the Tech, and I believe my back row is actually a Shield of Achilles at this point. I believe I just drew the Shield of Achilles, and I sat it. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, this is my way to win. I need to force out that Gorgon's here, or I need to get rid of the rabbit. I can't let him recover resources. Right now, I have the hand advantage. I have all the Elestrals in my hand. I need him to have nothing. I need him to consistently have nothing. That's how I stay in this game, is by him not being able to do anything. And so, my thought process, clean. Everything, clean. All clean. Shield of Achilles, Tectoros. I have lost all pressure at this point. There is next to no way I can recover pressure at this point. I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, that last back row has to be a bluff. There is no way that last back row is not a bluff. And then he rabbits. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, I have the advantage. Why? How? How are you just doing this? Are you kidding me? There is actually no way. Double Ash Trapping, bro? What the fuck? 2 in a row? Are you kidding me? And so I'm sitting here. I have every card in my hand. I have so many cards in my hand. My hand in this game hardly drops below 5 for more than a turn. Bro, I need him to stop getting cards. I'm telling myself, I can win this. I just need him to stop. So I activate Tsunami, and I switch everything to defense position. And I'm like, okay, I'm back in this. I have one more turn. I can do something. I need to run over this Viscaris right now. I cannot let him, and it's a Twitch ad. Everybody, Honda. I'm in an intense moment, and Twitch ads. Oh man, I love it. I love Hondas. I love Hondas. This is actually why I don't commentate so these games anymore. Is this Cox Internet, bro? I have Cox Internet. Oh my god, I pay so little money for the best internet, and I love it. Okay, like actually, Cox, I'm not sponsored, but you could sponsor me, and I would take just free internet for ever. Okay, like it's a great deal. Just let me keep my plan, make it free. I will blow you till the ends of the earth, Cox. Okay, like come on, hit me up. Bro, I hate that this happened during the intense moment too, because like this is close. Okay, so he has four spirits remaining, and I'm like, okay, I have all the pressure on him. I can cast Visk here, run over his Visk, get another Visk. No, all my Visk are accounted for. I have one left in hand. No, I do. I have two in hand. So I'm like, okay, I can run over his Visk, cast another Visk. The back row is probably a bluff. It's been sitting there this entire time. I'm probably safe. What are the odds that that back row is another counter rune when he's already played 6? What are the odds that that back row is another counter rune when he's already played 6? That back row has been there since the start of the game, hasn't seen play, had a lot of time to. Visk, run over Stellar Visk. Run over Stellar Visk. Let me hit it. Come on. Come on. Let me pop it. Gorgons. Alright, so while Coder's thinking about how to expend his spirits, the only card I hate to see there is Gorgons. The only card I hate to see there is Gorgons. He shields my Visk. Okay, that's fine. That means that I can suddenly, like cast Visk on the next turn. And actually, no, I think I would definitely lose if he shields it. Okay, so Shield and Gorgons. Those are the two cards I don't want to see in this situation. And I see Gorgons. Keep in mind, he's already played one. He's played 2 Shields, 1 Gorgons, 1 Tsunami. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I have drawn 1 counter rune this entire game. I have drawn like 8 Elestrals out of 16. Bro, what the fuck, right? And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I'm done for. I'm done for, right? I can hope he does something stupid and I can cheese out a win. That is my goal here. Unfortunately, for those of you who don't know, Coder's actually really good at this game. So the odds of him doing something stupid are very, very low. So he'll use 2 spirits from his spirit deck to go ahead and Gorgon's the Viscaris on the attack, so it doesn't get to destroy anything. And then I'll have to pass the turn over to him. So if I run over the Viscaris here, what ends up happening is I get to special cast Viscaris from my hand. Astrabic can only attack over 1, and depending on the other card in his hand, he's only able to destroy either Visk or in attack position or Visk in defense position. Unfortunately, though, he has the Tectoros. So, Tect now gets to safely attack over the Visk. He attacks for 3. I'll cast out Tectoros for game, and I will run it over Visk, and then Tect will swing at me. He'll disenchant a meter on targeted Tect, and yeah. So, I had no chance at winning this. Every single card he drew. And again, the reason I didn't mulligan, because I know, normally when I look at a game, and I go, what could I have done differently? The first thing I do is check to see if I should have mulliganed. I definitely should not have mulliganed. Let me say that much, okay? The reason he won this game is like 7 counter runes, okay? The reason he won this game was because he had everything going for him in the counter rune department, and I had like nothing going for me in anything else. I had all the advantage the entire time. I just needed bodies to stick. I needed him to not draw a Viscaris off the top of his deck after I wiped his board. I needed, literally, Viscaris is the only card that sets me back so far I lose the game. So, this was unlucky. And it was all the Viscaris top deck, okay? I think that if I had mulliganed, I would be playing at a 2-spirit difference, and I would be, I would probably lose at that point, right? I genuinely think that at the higher level tiers of competitive play, those 2 spirits matter so much, you can't afford the mulligan. I also know that in the Earth Mirror match, the one with the most Elestrals tends to do the best. And so, my thought process was, keep the Elestrals, and I will draw runes. That was my thought process. I have a 1/4 of my Elestrals in my hand. Odds of me drawing runes extremely high. I'm playing Nectar of the Gods specifically for the reason that if I get swarmed with runes or Elestrals, I will have the ability to draw 2 more cards. That is why I'm playing Nectar. And so, I'm like, okay, going into game 2, I didn't side deck anything. I don't need to change anything in the deck, okay? I had Folaway in the side deck, I had Boustation in the side deck, I had Veritako in the side deck, none of those helped me here. So, going into game 2, I'm like, I leave the deck as is, I just need a better hand. That's all I need, is a better hand. And him to not draw the fucking crack hands that he's been drawing this entire time, right? And so, I'm like, okay. To quote, I believe JT, I'm pretty sure it was JT. He said, and I quote, Coder has the main character plot armor. And I agree. I agree. There was nothing I could have done in that last game to change how it went. I could have mulliganed, and then I think I'm playing at such a major, like, I think I'm playing at such a major disadvantage that I lose the game by default. So, my thought process here, make a board and Coder won't kill it. And this is my thought process going into game 2. And I know I can win. I know going into game 2, I can win. I am probably one of the few people who understands the Earth Mirror match as much as him. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I can win this. All I need to see, Equalings, Tectoros, Visk. I need to see, runes, counter runes specifically. Let me draw a counter rune. Jesus Christ, let me draw a counter rune. And so this is my thought process, okay? And I'm like, okay, I need to actually play insane. Because I need to not only take it to a game 3, but then I need to win the game 3. And so I'm telling myself, you got this, don't let last game get to you, you understood what you did wrong last game, you did nothing wrong, he just drew the back row. You just need to draw back row. So, I draw my 5, and I see nothing but back row. My opening hand consists of 4 back row and a resting on your laurels. So I'm sitting here, and I'm like, okay, this is cracked. I will expend to draw, and I will draw an Elestral. Bro, I draw Rummagem. Rummagem is not an Elestral. In case you guys do not know that, Rummagem is a expend to search. Okay? Its body in Earth Mirror is so infinitesimally useless that it's as though it doesn't exist. So he casts the Electric, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, great. So I'm playing one card down. I'm playing one spirit down. I'm playing one card down. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, all right, this is not the start that I want. He swings at me with one for the Jolton, with the Electric. By the way, the reason I don't set the back row, I do have the back row. The reason I don't set the back row is simply because of the fact that I don't want Equalings blowouts here, okay? I know very well he's playing Equalings. I know very well he could open Demeter, and I don't want him to start popping back row because I don't want to activate the back row on an Equalings, okay? So I set 3 cards. Actually, I think it was double Ambrosia, Shield, Laurel, something else, I want to say? I can't remember. And so I top deck Visk, and I'm like, okay, this is a body that can attack over stuff. And PTA. And PTA. I'm having a really bad time right now. The only thing that I hated there was PTA. He activates Gorgon's Gaze on attack declaration or battle step. I'm fine with that. It baits out the Gorgon's Gaze. It also makes it to where I can trade with the Electric. I'm perfectly fine with that. The only card he could play in that situation where I'm like, why did this happen to me, was literally PTA. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, this is great. All right, I'm fine. He's gonna pop something with the Electric. He's gonna pop something with Equalings. So he ends up going to go pop a Shield, and I Gorgons here because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop the Equalings. One way or the other, I'm using 2 spirits. I'm taking 2 spirits, and I'm also gonna have something pop. I want to control what gets popped. So I activate a Shield here, and I end up bouncing the Electric. So this is what I mean when I say I played out of my mind. Okay. This is what I mean when I say I played out of my mind. The reason I activated Shield was so I would have an easier target for Equalings. That is such an insanely good play. It seems like it's kind of obvious. It seems like it's kind of obvious in hindsight, right? Like it definitely seems like a more obvious play, right? But I'm letting him get a Demeter search off. I'm letting him go +1 on card advantage, plus like 3 actually, because I'm sacrificing so much just to get rid of this Equalings. But at the same time, I get to control when my runes are removed now. He no longer has the Equaling, so he's not able to pop my runes at will. And so I believe this is the turn where I set to Ambrosia. Or I set an Ambrosia, I want to say. Yeah, I set an Ambrosia, and then I cast Rummagem, I want to say. Yeah, Rummagem. Okay. So Rummagem was the card that I drew off the Expenditure. And then I drew a Viscaris for turn, the preceding turn, and yeah. So I end up casting the Rummagem, and this is going to allow me to search, unfortunately, Gorgon's Gaze. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, he just has the answer again. I believe I have 2 cards in hand, 1 or 2 cards in hand, I want to say. The way that the cameras are all set up is extremely difficult on how to, show my entire board. So it was, I can't tell. Normally I spread them out so people can see, but I also don't want to interfere with the game board to make it more confusing for Dan. So I'm sitting here, and I'm like, okay, I know he has an Electric. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with him having the Electric. He will cast the Electric, and it'll let him search out a card. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, that's fine. He gets his second Demeter, but then he does the rabbit. What? And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, bro, I would have totally done the Demeter. It gives you the I would have done the Electric because it gets you the Demeter. It allows you to attack over the Rummagem. What am I doing to a Demeter? What am I doing to an Electric with the cards I have, right? What am I doing? And so this I actually think is a misplay on his part. This I believe is a misplay on his part. And so he activates the Demeter. I don't think that he needed to play the Astrabbit. I think he would have been perfectly fine with the Electric. That way he could have run over the Rummagem anyways, and still have the disenchant from Demeter. I'm assuming his back row is at this point I'm assuming his back row is something that is triggered on attack declaration, and that he's worried about an Equalings. So that's my thought process going into the next turn. Is his back row is something that's triggered on attack deck, and so he doesn't want me to play an Equalings. So he does go ahead and run over the Rummagem, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, bro, what the fuck is this, dude? Oh my god. And so I guess Tect. Tect is allowed to attack over Astrabbit. In every circumstance, Tect can attack over Astrabbit here. Unless, of course, his back row is a Tsunami, a Shield, or Gorgons that negates the attack. In every situation, I am perfectly fine here. So I swing over Astrabbit. I attack into the Astrabbit. This will force a back row if he has it, or he'll lose the rabbit. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, all I can really do is hope that that back row is a bluff, right? Like, that's, realistically speaking, that's all I can do. So I do set a back row here, and I believe this is the third Ambrosia. Yeah, this is the Ambrosia. This is the Ambrosia. I do set a back row because he asked what's the new set. I know he's about to play an Equalings Nexus to pop the back row, and so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I'm fine with this. I set the new back row specifically for an Equalings. Not gonna lie to you. The new back row was because Yu-Gi-Oh! Players have a tendency to pop new sets, and so I set the back row because it suddenly turns my 50-50 onto whether or not he pops the shield into a 50-50 into a 100% he does not pop the shield. He will always pop the new set here. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, cool. My shield is safe. I can reset his Spirit Earthquake. And now I'm back to top decking. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, what the fuck do I do? I activate the shield here, I bounce the Equalings, and so I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, this is fine. The board state is reset. I need an Elestral. Give it to me. Give me a Visk. And Rabbit. The one misplay I think I made this entire time is casting this Rabbit into attack position. I definitely thought that the attack would have been mattered more to me than, the actual, casting itself. And so he goes ahead and he plays Elechick. Visk? Was this Visk? Yeah, Equalings, okay. So, I'm sitting here. If I'd casted this Rabbit in defense, I would have casted my face down, which was an Ambrosia. And I honestly think that not casting that Ambrosia is what loses me the game. But at the same time, I didn't expect him to have the second Demeter. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, motherfucker, what do? I get the Visk off the top. Visk off the top can win me this game. I attack into the Equalings. Come on. Show me the shield. And Gorgons! Woo! He Gorgons the attack deck, by the way, so he doesn't trade. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, what the fuck? Seriously? Every single counter rune. Oh my fucking god! And so I'm sitting here. And I'm like, I actually don't realize he's at 1 at this point until he says something. And he picks up his Spirit and he's like 1. And I'm like, oh, I have an out. So he actually he plays the Elechick to get the offensive pressure on. Disenchantment to meter, targeting the Elechick. Elechick runs over the Viscaris. Equalings gets in for 1. I'm at 4. I need any Elestral with 4 or more attack to win the game. Any Elestral with 4 or more attack wins me the game. Here and now. Give it a second. I don't know why he's thinking. I mean, like, in all honesty, like, you always cast the Elechick here to get that search off. So he plays the Elechick and he searches, grabs the Demeter. And so, my thought process here, right? Nectar of the Gods wins me the game. If I get Nectar of the Gods, Demeter Equalings wins me the game. Nectar of the Gods gets me any 5 attack Elestral, wins me the game. He will activate the Demeter, targeting the Elechick, or have the Elechick run over my Viscaris, and have Equalings attack for 1. I'll take 1. I'll be at 3. Anything with 4 or more attack wins me the game. Anything. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, I just need a basic draw. I have, I believe it was 6 Elestrals I could draw right now that outpower everything on his board. I have 9 Elestrals I could draw that ties everything on his board or outpowers it. So I need any of those. Any one of those. Now, I guarantee you, people are going to point to this moment where I expend a draw and they say, with this, where I lose the game. Y'all don't know fucking shit. Okay, so what's gonna happen is the only way to lose the game in either of these circumstances, expended draw or not expended draw, is if he draws Ambrosia. If he doesn't draw Ambrosia, then I take 2. I'm at 1. I have another chance to draw. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't want to waste my expended draw on the next turn because I lose on the next turn if I expend a draw. So what I need to do is I need to expend a draw here, have him not draw Ambrosia. So let's say I don't expend a draw here, and he draws Ambrosia. What happens? He Ambrosia's off the Elechick. Then he gets 3 spirits back. He has Demeter in hand. He just searched it. Cast Demeter with the spirit on board. Cast Demeter with 2 enchant, and then re-enchant Equalings. then next equaling stability, Nexus 2 from Demeter to itself, swings for 4. That's lethal there. So, no matter what I do, he needs to not draw Ambrosia for me to successfully win this game. So I'm sitting here, I will expend a draw. This will give me another chance. The only way I lose is if he draws Ambrosia. Let me actually see if I can pull up the audio file for this, because I want this conversation to speak for itself. Okay, let me do videos. Where is it? Here it is. So I believe this is. I'm gonna let. I'm literally. I am actually going to let this video speak for itself, because I do not think that I can do justice to what is about to happen. Genuinely, I do not think I can do justice for what is about to happen, because you will hear it in his voice. You will hear it in his voice. This was not a way we wanted this game to end. This was definitely not a way we wanted this game to end, okay? Oh my god. I genuinely, actually, factually, okay? I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm gonna let this play out. Bring me to... you won't get the Ambrosia. I'll expend a draw. Here you go.
So you're on 3?
3. You top deck that, didn't you? Yeah, of course. Literally how the game ended. Literally how the game ended. I called it. I said there's no way you're getting the Ambrosia. I said there's no shot you're getting the Ambrosia. He's gotten everything he could possibly need. The only way I lose, the single only way that I lose, is if he gets the Ambrosia. There is one way I lose that game, and Ambrosia off the top, and he gets it. You're right, Yu-Gi-Oh fans. I won't be able to beat Coder, because I give up. It is evident that, no matter how hard I try, no matter how much work I put into it, I will not be able to beat Coder. I give up. So, to everybody who messaged me during the Elestriad telling me that I was never going to equate to anything compared to Coder, that Coder would always no-diff me, congratulations. You're right. You win. I hope you're happy. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who constantly spammed my messages and telling me that I would never be able to compare to him. I appreciate that. You're all very much appreciated. I appreciate everything you did to help me. Thank you. You made me realize that I should give up. So, this Coder is not why I'm giving up. Coder is not the reason as to why I'm saying I'm done. Coder is not the blame for why I'm leaving. But Coder's why I'm leaving. And it's not Coder's fault. Coder has been nothing but nice to me. He's been nothing but shown me the same level of respect that I've asked for. He has been the most kind person. And it sucks that his fans, his community, literally drove me to the point where I started to believe that I would never be able to equate. It sucks that I actually started to believe it. And it sucks that now I feel like I've been proven that they're right. I hate it. I tried so hard to prove them wrong, and I give up. So, to everybody, to the dozens of people who messaged me, telling me Coder would no-diff me, that I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, there you go. You're right. I give up. Thank you. That's... To everybody who's watching this still, and, you know, was wondering what's going to go on with Pantera month, I have some VODs that are saved from stream where I played some Pantera games. I'll upload those. I'm going to do the most bare minimal editing, because I do not care. I want to be over with Elestrals, but I also promise you guys Pantera month. So if those aren't enough to make up for Pantera month, then I'll record some privately, and I will upload them, and you guys can have those. To the people who subscribed on Patreon, I will still be uploading articles for the remainder of the next month. Please cancel your subscriptions after that, because I will probably not be uploading any Elestrals articles at that point. I do plan on doing content for other stuff, but I mean, I genuinely, I can't try with Elestrals anymore. I can't. It's not worth, you know, the risk of proving them right any further. I already suffer from, like, major mental health. I can't let that get worse. You know, it's one thing when it's like, you know, it's one thing when it's like, you know, just like, you know, one or two people going, oh, like, you suck. But when it's dozens, when it's multiple people, I just can't. Okay? So, yeah. I know it's going to disappoint people that I'm leaving. I know it's probably going to upset people that I'm leaving. And I'm sorry. It hurts, man. It really hurts. Because it's like, again, Coder has been nothing but kind to me. And I hate that, like, it's attributed basically to Coder's fanbase as to why I'm saying fuck it. I do. And I can't fake, you know, it anymore. So, yeah. I'm about to list all my cards on the TCG Marketplace. And if you guys are interested in buying any, hit me up. They're going to be at a drastically discounted rate because I just want to get rid of them. I don't want to see them anymore. I want to move on to other things now. So, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. And, bye.